Helen had the PEZ in the before times. And 300 years later, Juliet gets the same PEZ dispenser, and that is the relic that brings back the Silo 17, Solo Jimmy, the blueprints, and the plan to cap the safeguard pipe in her memories. Silo Season 3, Episode 5 was real heavy. So much information dropped about what was going on behind the scenes. I had to go back and watch the first 4 episodes to see all the clues that connected to the answers we were given in Episode 5. Every scene with Robert Sims and his wife, I had to get a good look at what Nurse Amy was doing, especially when I realized that she was also the same nurse that was drugging Gloria in Season 1. It even made me go back and check out the before time scenes to see if there was anything to help me make sense of the remote control car that Daniel rented from a guy under a light post. But then I noticed something about Helen and Juliet when I went to go back and look at those episodes. Besides the PEZ dispenser, Helen and Juliet are the only 2 characters that I've noticed saying or using the word Jesus on the entire series. Helen saying Jesus makes sense because she lived in the old world and grew up before the silos in a time where the word was common. Common even if you didn't go to church.
Not a church girl, she was secular.
Juliet saying Jesus is the problem. She was born inside a sealed society where people have been in the silo underground for generations, and the public sacred text is the pact. No Bible or Abrahamic faith system at all. They do have the pact, which is like the Bible in a sense of being a rule book of sorts, but it doesn't deal with creationism. They do have the order, which is kept secret and hidden from the public along with the vault voice. So I'm not asking whether people casually say Jesus. I'm asking how that word would survive in Juliet's mouth. We have never heard anyone in the silo ever casually use that word until now. And Juliet says Jesus when she and Knox get to the mines and witness people coming out of there coughing and vomiting. Then she says, Jesus. And looking at it in hindsight, this is the character who had the whole rebirthing ritual complete with the phoenix from the flames imagery being lowered down the medical in the same fashion as the silo buries their dead in those rituals. Then just her being the person who returned from the cleaning ritual, left the silo and came back is real crazy for her to be the only one that we heard using this word. In my opinion, her coming back is the resurrection of the Flamekeepers. Welcome to Real Enigmas and Theories. Tap that like and hype on your way in, and if you've made it this far through the video, let's start the cook up by breaking down what the Flamekeepers actually did. The old Flamekeepers preserved forbidden memory through relics, stories, hidden connections, and bloodlines. That's probably how a word like that would make it to Juliet's mouth, because they weren't just collectors, they were keeping the memories alive. And that's why the system hunted them, drugged them, and blocked them from having children. Now the new Flamekeepers, Robert, Bernard, Martha, Regina, Hank, and the others are doing the same thing for Juliet. They're not calling themselves the Flamekeepers, but they are doing that same job. Juliet is the child who wasn't supposed to be born, and the guy who told her that is literally coaching the team on the playbook and what the order says. Sims is running those plays and making sure Juliet gets the relics that she needs to regain her memory, all the way down to being the one to hand her the PEZ dispenser relic that brings her memories back. And that relic ties directly to the only other person on the show we hear say the word Jesus. And on the surface, it looks kind of corny, like, oh, look at the magic relic bringing the memories back just by touching and looking at it. Nah, it's a little bit deeper than that. Aside from the scientific fact that objects can actually hold memory, this PEZ dispenser looks like a miniature version of the silo blueprint. It's tall, vertical, just like a pocket version of that whole system. It's actually a phallic symbol, and that object gave Juliet her memory back. It's shaped just like the prison that she was trying to decode. It kind of looks like these diagrams that we see of the silo. And this was an object that she had seen before she saw the blueprints of the silo. So that memory definitely connected. I mean, this object was given to her by her boyfriend. And sometimes we forget that, like, Juliet didn't want to be the sheriff or didn't want any of that power or anything. She just wanted to know what happened to her boyfriend. The PEZ dispenser is also shaped like the columns from the Georgia Guidestones. I did a whole entire video about how the founders of the silo could have been following the directions on the Georgia Guidestones. You can go check out that video. I'll leave a link to that at the end of this one. But the silo has 144 levels, 12 times 12. The main symbol used in the silo is the one with 12 people holding their arms up. There's a 12-point star that is formed in the middle of them. And 12 is tied to many things like tribes, apostles. You have the 12 months, clock cycle, zodiac division, sacred order. There's many things that 12 can be tied into. So I'm not going to dive into one specific thing. And I'm not saying that the 12 figures actually represent anything like the 12 tribes of Judah or Israel. I'm saying that 12 times 12 is at the ritual doorway of a structure with 144 levels. Now, the Jewish mystical text Sefer Yetzirah connects 12 Hebrew letters to the 12 constellations. Lucas Kyle was using the Atbash cipher when he was trying to decode Salvador Quinn's notes back in season 2. Lucas is also who was paying attention to the constellations in the cafeteria. Now, Sefer Yetzirah provides the mystical framework behind the same kind of letter transformation that's used in Atbash. And Lucas is also the one who told them to find a different relic that is significant to what she's trying to remember. That relic is the phallic symbol pocket-sized silo. Now, Juliet says Jesus, and Robert says a word in this episode that also makes me question how one who grew up in the silo would even know, and that's the word magic. How does Robert know what magic is? How does he even know about that word? Is it something that he came across from being the hunter of forbidden relics?
Like it was going to perform some kind of magic or something.
And both of these characters in the silo using the words Jesus and magic are both tied directly to the PEZ dispenser. Robert is who returns it to Juliet, and she gives it right back to him after she remembers everything, just like magic. Now, a 12 by 12 magic square contains the numbers 1 through 144. And every row, column, and main diagonal adds up to the same number hidden within inside of the code, and that's 870. This is baked right into the symbolism and the silo's design. It's almost like it's a magic square with stairs. And it made me ask the question, why does Silo 17 even have blueprints that show the location of the safeguard pipe if just simply knowing about the safeguard could get everybody in the silo killed? Why preserve the plans? You let me know what you think in the comments. But let's look at what PEZ represents outside of the story. PEZ comes out of Austria. And I've talked about these guys on my channel before, but the notion just keeps popping up. I'm talking about the Sigmund Freud, Edward Bernays trail. Edward Bernays was born in Vienna, Austria, and became one of the foundational figures behind modern public relations and propaganda. He was also Sigmund Freud's nephew and the paternal granduncle of Mark Randolph, who is the co-founder and the first CEO of Netflix. And we know that Netflix pretty much created the streaming era, and now Apple TV is delivering a story about screens controlling reality. I definitely have to shout out Aquarius Vibe because she was on points in the comments indeed. And I love it when the conversation gets deeper in the comment section. It shows how this type of show can bring minds of dope people together to make the show even more enjoyable. So drop down in the comments and let me know. Silo is definitely one of them ones. Now, episode 5 takes that machine logic outside of the silo. Daniel and Helen learn that Per Stinson, the major advocate tied to AI control and the man funding Charlotte's memory clinic, was aboard the Nimitz during the Operation Righteous Vengeance. And I gotta say, the name of that mission is fully loaded. Righteous tells the public that the mission is morally clean, and Vengeance tells them that the violence is justified before anybody investigates the story that caused it. And we know that the dirty bomb story was fake, so the propaganda is baked into the name of the operation. And that's why that Bernays angle with the PEZ fits so heavy, because a lot of this was all started from propaganda. And that type of propaganda is what helps soldiers just go ahead and follow orders without asking any questions. Then we have the Nimitz in our real world, the USS Nimitz, tied directly to the famous 2004 Tic Tac UAP encounter. Commander David Fravor and other Navy personnel described an unusual white object displaying flight behavior that they couldn't explain near a disturbance in the ocean. And then the Department of Defense later officially released a November 2004 Navy video and said the phenomenon remained characterized as unidentified. Now, that takes us right back to the hacker Stephen Price, who was looking at that form that was already pointing at that same lane before the Nimitz was even revealed that this guy was on the Nimitz. That form subject was the abyss, mass whale deaths, what really happened. And the people in that forum were talking about the military testing, sonar, underwater acoustic technology, electromagnetic frequencies, extraterrestrial stuff, and a whole bunch of other things that ties right back to the Nimitz. Now, the Nimitz name is still one of the most largest modern trigger words for unexplained aerial technology. So when somebody mentions the Nimitz, that's what most people who are in the know think about. And now we actually have the Nimitz being mentioned on the show with that same type of military secrecy and strange activity over the ocean. And I got to say, shout out to DJ High Def for hitting me up to drop a few meta connections to the Nimitz. Yo, I got to say, it's dope to have the DJ for the Detroit Pistons hitting me up to talk about clues on shows like From and Silo. Yo, shout out to DJ High Def. And this clue stacks right up there with a few others that give us a roundabout time frame that the before times is actually taking place. We have the song Ship to Wreck, and that's from Florence and the Machine's 2015 album cycle. So if that's playing in Helen's car on the radio, then that scene cannot be before 2015. And then we have Helen mentioning the Snowden leak reported about the NSA and the interest in games like Worlds of Warcraft and the Xbox Live stuff. That came out in 2013. And now we're getting the information about Per Stinson being framed around AI control in Charlotte's Memory Clinic, along with the game-based covert communication. And when you add that to remote vehicle takeover with cars and actual airplanes, it kind of feels like we're living in a world after the public AI panic. And that kind of pushes us closer to mid 2020s, or even farther than that, closer to 2030. And what kind of car was this anyway? I mean, I tried to cross-reference this logo. I couldn't find anything. What kind of car was this? If any of you know, let me know in the comments. It does look like a horse to me, so it looks like a chess piece, maybe the knight symbolism, and we've been dealing with chess going on. But we also are in the year of the fire horse, so maybe it was that. I don't know, but it's definitely some symbolism that caught my eye. Let me know what you think in the comments. Charlotte's squad is flying with outdated communication. Per Stinson, the AI control billionaire, is funding the clinic to rebuild her memory. He was also on the Nimitz during the operation where her squadron lost control, just like the car that Daniel and Helen are in right now. I mean, 2 and 2 together, right? Something else that caught my attention was Helen saying that Sam has magic beans. Now, a magic bean is a seed that grows into a hidden vertical pathway to another world. So the silo is like a vertical world itself. And earlier, that one line that Daniel said when he gets out of a relationship and he buries all evidence deep beneath the earth, you know what I'm saying? It kind of gave me like magic bean vibes, kind of connects. But Sam's information becomes the seed that allows Daniel and Helen to climb into the next level of the conspiracy. When you think about it, from Charlotte's flight to being in a vehicle that loses control, just like her pain. And like I said before, Charlotte didn't survive a crash. I think that it was an abduction from the gate. I don't think she was ever supposed to die in the plane crash. I think that was their opportunity to get her. I think she had already been chosen. I think Charlotte, Helen, and Daniel are all chosen people. And if the plane abduction landed Charlotte in the hands of Stenson, Sirkovich, and whoever else, where is this van taking Daniel and Helen? 2 and 2 together, right? Only time will tell. Let me know in the comments what you think. Also, let me know what you thought about Helen and Juliet being the only 2 people to say Jesus on the series. And let me know what you think about Juliet saying Jesus. And do you think the 12-person symbol and 144 levels are tied to the magic square and are about a chosen population system? Do you think that Robert and the others have become the new Flamekeepers? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you like this video, go ahead and do all that dope YouTube stuff and send this to somebody who watches the show. If you're not subscribed yet, hopefully this will be the video to make you do it. The algorithm hasn't been too cool with us. And like I said, I'm going to leave a link to that video at the end of this one, or it's right here on the screen right now. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.